They always tell you, if you want real peace, you put distance between yourself and other people. And my family, the Buchanans, we've done exactly that for 150 years, right here on 100 acres of thick red clay farm country we call Stone's Edge. Then, one quiet Tuesday morning, I opened my mailbox and found a certified letter, thick paper, with a pretentious little fountain logo, slapping me with a $120,000 HOA fine for a metal shop I'd just finished building on my own damn soil. I figured they were either lost or high, until the moment I discovered they'd actually built 7 houses and their entire elaborate community gates right on my property line. That's when the laughter died, and I realized this wasn't some clerical error. This was a hostile takeover. This was war. My story starts not with a bang, but with the silence you only find out here in Jasper County, where the mist hangs low over the fields, and the only sound is the breeze rustling through the pines that stood long before my granddaddy did. I'm Silas Buchanan, and this land, it's been in my blood since 1875. 40-something years I've lived here, summers where the air hangs thick and heavy, and winters where the frost clings to the shed roof like silver plating. My father, he used to say, "Son, you don't rent peace, you earn it, and then you guard it." Out here, peace was something you just absorbed. It lived in the worn cedar fence posts, the steady chug of my old diesel, the simple, honest work. I figured if trouble ever came, it'd be a late-season freeze or a combined breaking down in a hurricane, not a fancy envelope with a fine print mandate. My days were simple enough. I lease most of the acreage for commercial hay and pecans, and I run a small welding and repair shop out of the old shed. Farmers bring me busted axles, dull mower blades, the usual stuff. It's necessary, honest work, but the shed I built, that was different. That was mine. I'd saved for years, kept the cash tucked away, one envelope at a time, what I called my steel money. It took forever, but last year, I finally called in a contractor. Steel, I told him. Reinforced beams, a thick slab foundation. I wanted something that wouldn't rot, something that would outlive me. And when it was done, shining under the Carolina sun, it felt like the first thing I'd built purely for myself in a decade. Just to be certain, I'd had my old buddy, Marcus, the surveyor, out here twice, walking the boundaries with his GPS gear. "Watch yourself, Silas," Marcus joked. "Those Oakwood Heights folks get real territorial about their aesthetics. Don't want your farm equipment clashing with their beige siding." We both laughed hard, the kind of laugh that comes before a storm you just can't see coming. 3 weeks after that roof went on, 3 weeks after the building became my pride, that first letter arrived. Architectural disruption, visual noncompliance, $120,000. I called their number, Oakwood Heights Community Council, got the voicemail. I kept my voice calm, polite, told them they had the wrong property, that my land was recorded separately since before their development was even a deer trail, and ended it with a simple, "Appreciate your time." I figured it was solved. But I didn't yet understand the scale of the deceit, the distance Oakwood Heights had reached past their own perimeter fence. 2 hours later, I was tightening a pivot joint on a hay baler when I heard the tires crunching, slow, deliberate. A black, over-polished Escalade pulled up, not stopping politely, but idling right in my gravel loop like it owned the place. The driver's door opened, and out stepped a woman in high heels that were clearly designed only for pavement, carrying a clipboard like a royal scepter. "Mr. Buchanan?" Her voice was smooth, confident, and utterly devoid of warmth. "And you are?" I asked, wiping grease on a rag. "I'm Charlotte Vance, chairwoman of the Oakwood Heights Council." Behind her, 2 men appeared, one in a tight golf shirt, the other carrying a ridiculous measuring wheel. "You delivered that letter?" I asked. "We did," she confirmed, never blinking. "And I'm here to verify a potential encroachment violation regarding the structure you placed near our community boundary." I blinked slowly. "My structure? On my land?" She gave me a tight, condescending smile. "You may be unaware, Mr. Buchanan, but the western section of your property was included in the Century Developers' 2017 expansion filing. Based on our records, this region falls under our extended architectural review zone." I felt the blood start to slow in my veins. My family's owned this land since yours was still a blueprint. I had a licensed surveyor confirm the line before I ever poured a foundation. You are looking at 100 acres of Buchanan land recorded in Jasper County since 1875. She ignored me, turning to the man with the wheel. Start from the corner pin, Mr. Jones. Confirm the footage. I took a single, deliberate step forward, placing myself between the measuring guy and the fence line. The air went still. This, I said quietly, locking eyes with her, is your only chance to get back in that big car of yours. You are being uncooperative, she hissed. You are trespassing, I countered. We stood there for a beat that felt like an hour, the whole world waiting. Finally, she adjusted her sunglasses with that perfect, infuriating calm. You have 14 days, Mr. Buchanan. Noncompliance will result in escalation. The car rolled away, leaving a silent warning hanging in the dust. As soon as she was gone, I walked straight into my house and started pulling every deed, plat, tax receipt, and survey record my family had saved for 5 generations. I knew I was going to need them all. The next morning, another envelope arrived, delivered by a nervous young man who sprinted away before I could speak. This time, the fine was $135,000, and the language hit harder. Failure to participate in mandatory compliance review shall incur daily fines. And the kicker, the council authorizes enforcement mechanisms up to and including lien placement and seizure. They were fining me daily for not attending a meeting for a property I didn't own, on land they didn't control. Something snapped. Not fear, not panic, but a deep, cold, steady resolve. I called Ron Mallister, my lawyer. After hearing the details, Ron didn't joke. Silas, this isn't neighborhood drama. This is professional. This is calculated. What are they after, Ron? I think. He paused, and his pause is always serious. They're trying to validate a false boundary on paper before anyone bothers to check the real ground. Get Marcus back out there. We need a clean, certified survey. A full one. 2 days later, Marcus showed up, his demeanor somber. We walked the property line again, but this time, he brought serious equipment, GPS units, soil markers, and a high-resolution drone. Everything matched the old deeds. Everything was right. I almost let myself feel relieved. But then the black Escalade returned. Charlotte, same high heels, same clipboard, demanding to file an injunction against my unauthorized survey. Ma'am, Marcus said, not even looking up from his tablet. Unless you have a court order right here, this land is not your jurisdiction. And if you cross this boundary, I'll be filing the trespassing report. She drove off in a huff, but her visit only confirmed my lawyer's suspicion. This wasn't about the barn. Later that afternoon, Marcus drove back down the dusty lane, but this time, he was pale. He walked into my shop, grabbed my largest metal workbench, and unrolled his new layered map. It showed my southern property line, but overlaid with data from the Century developer's filing. He dragged his finger 40 feet north of the true boundary, then circled a cluster of beige boxes. Silas, he breathed out, slow and tired. That's where they think the line is. You're looking at 7 houses, multiple driveways, and their central Oakwood Heights clubhouse. My brain refused to process the image. On mine. On yours, Marcus confirmed, pointing. The whole front patio of this one is on your lot. That one, the garage, and the largest structure, that's the clubhouse. Built square on Buchanan land. I sank onto a stool, staring at the physical proof. 7 homes, 5 years of construction, permits, sales, mortgages, all sitting illegally on soil my grandfather walked every morning. How in God's name does this happen? Sloppy mapping, intentional fraud, or both, Marcus said. Shifting a boundary line 50 feet on paper is cheaper than paying market price for the land. They thought they could get away with a quiet land grab. I felt the clarity of pure, cold anger. The barn wasn't the problem. It was the tripwire. I hired Ron to bring in a land fraud specialist who spent 3 days tracing every single coordinate filed by Century developers. His conclusion was blunt. The original plat lines were intentionally fudged by a fraction of a degree, just enough to slide entire foundations onto my lot without looking obvious to a casual observer. It was, he called it, a slow-motion theft. Then came the escalation I truly feared. Walking to the mailbox that evening, I found a piece of yellow legal paper, torn, no envelope, just black marker. Stop digging. You push. We push back. I stood there, listening to the silence of my farm, suddenly feeling watched. That night, I pulled out my great-grandfather's old lever-action Winchester, oiled it, and laid it gently on the nightstand. The old piece was gone. 2 days later, Charlotte Vance showed up again, holding a glass dish. "Mr. Buchanan," she chirped, voice pitched too sweet. "I brought you some peach cobbler, fresh out of the oven." Her smile was desperate. I was finally seeing the cracks. "That's kind of you, Mrs. Vance. What can I do for you?" "Please, call me Charlotte. I think we got off on the wrong foot. Misunderstandings happen. Our counsel would love a chance to talk this out. You know, neighbor to neighbor, outside of lawyers. We're having a small get-together Friday." The fear was plain as day. She knew I was close to exposing the whole scam. Ron called. "She showed up already? Go to the meeting, Silas. It's a trap. But walk in, smile, and don't sign a damn thing." Friday night, I drove down to Oakwood Heights. The clubhouse was lit up like a movie set. Expensive cheese, soft jazz, the smell of vanilla candles. I parked my muddy Ford right out front. Charlotte rushed over with a glass of wine, trying to seem friendly. On a small table, I saw it, a clipboard labeled Community Dialogue Attendance Acknowledgement. I picked it up. Perfectly ordinary sign-in sheet, until the fine print at the bottom, a clause about acknowledging community ordinances and future compliance. It was a poison pill. "That's just for our records," Charlotte drifted over, trying to look casual. "Then I'll take it with me to review," I said, smiling politely. Her composure cracked instantly. Before she could object, I reached into my coat and pulled out my own clipboard. A single-page document addressed to the county prosecutor, confirming that she, Charlotte Vance, had officially received notice of my complaint regarding fraudulent land encroachment. "Here," I offered, "one for you. Just for transparency." Her mind must have been on autopilot because she barely skimmed the title. She signed. 2 of her board members, caught off guard, signed as witnesses. I thanked them for the hospitality, set the untouched wine glass down, and walked out before dessert. The signed document sat on my passenger seat like a loaded gun. The next week in court, the atmosphere was tight enough to snap. Charlotte sat rigid, her defeat written all over her face. Ron presented our evidence. The Buchanan deed from 1875, the old tax records, Marcus's certified GPS logs, and the drone imagery showing their entire community askew. Then Ron paused, holding up Charlotte's signed document, the one acknowledging receipt of my fraud complaint, which she had sworn under oath she'd never seen. "Mrs. Vance," the judge said, his voice quiet but heavy, "would you like to explain how your signature appears on this document confirming receipt of a complaint you just swore under oath you had never received?" Her lawyer lunged, but the judge silenced him with a single raised hand. Charlotte shook her head, her voice thin. "It must have been a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" The judge leaned back, letting the silence accuse her. "You built structures on land that does not belong to you. You filed documents containing false information. You authorized fines and threats against a man whose only mistake was trusting his property lines. This is not a misunderstanding. This is malpractice. This is trespass at the most fundamental level." He turned to me. "Mr. Buchanan, do you wish to seek full restitution?" "Yes, Your Honor," I said, my voice steady. "I do." The day ended with a ruling that hit the room like a hammer. All development in the disputed zone is to be halted immediately. No sales, no building, no access beyond what is necessary for legal removal. The gavel cracked. Oakwood Heights finally realized they were standing on stolen ground, and the bill was due. I woke up before sunrise on demolition day. There's a strange stillness that settles in your bones when justice is about to arrive wearing work boots. By the time the sun cleared the treetops, the deep growl of diesel engines and the metallic clank of heavy equipment filled the air. A convoy of excavators, bulldozers, and county demolition crews lined the road. Sheriff Lamar nodded at me. "You ready, Silas?" "I've been ready for a long time, Sheriff." An excavator operator leaned out of his cab. "You the landowner? You point to anything you want gone first." I smiled. "Yeah, start with the clubhouse." A cheer went up from the crowd that had gathered, neighbors, farmers, even people who had driven over from the next county just to watch. Right as the bucket swung forward, a shriek echoed from the sidewalk. Charlotte Vance came running down the gravel, heels sinking, hair a mess. No, this is illegal." I folded my arms across my chest, saying nothing. "You could have compromised, Silas," she yelled, tears streaming. I took a slow step toward her. "I did, Charlotte. I said quietly. I let you live on my land for years without even knowing it. Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked around desperately, but the excavator didn't wait. The bucket slammed into the front porch of the clubhouse with a sickening crack. Wood splintered, glass burst outward. The machine ripped again and again. Within minutes, the building was a heap of rubble. The demolition crew moved on to the unsold homes. Every crack of wood, every collapsing beam, every smashed window was another nail in the coffin of their arrogance. By early afternoon, all 7 houses and the clubhouse were reduced to piles of debris. Charlotte watched every second, collapsing into quiet sobs when nothing worked. Finally, the sheriff approached us. "Mr. Buchanan, that's the end of the demolition order." He turned to Charlotte. "And ma'am, I'm afraid we have one more matter." Deputies stepped forward and arrested her on charges including property fraud, document forgery, and interference with official land management processes. She tried to run, a pathetic 5 steps, before they caught her and cuffed her right there. As they loaded her into the patrol car, she screamed through the glass, "This isn't over." But it was. I didn't celebrate. The morning after the demolition, I walked the southern field alone. 9 structures gone, the land laid bare, scarred, but mine again. I felt relief, yes, but also a strange, heavy grief. Even when you win, ripping out what was built still leaves wounds. I rented a loader and leveled the field myself, erasing the last fingerprints of people who tried to steal what wasn't theirs. Once the soil was smooth, I planted. Not corn, not wheat. I planted pecan trees, dozens of them, rising straight as a rifle barrel. Pecan trees, the native royalty of the South. I liked the idea that something sweet, strong, and enduring might grow where something rotten had stood. Then I built a gate, a heavy steel gate with the old Buchanan plowshare crest cut clean into the center. I hung the judge's certified ruling in a glass case right beside it. Let the whole world see how this story truly ended. A few days later, a kid on a bike, maybe 13, coasted down the lane wearing an Oakwood Heights shirt. He stopped at the gate. You're the Buchanan man, right?" "That's me." He pointed to the court ruling. "Is that real?" "Every word," I said. He looked at the rows of young pecan trees. "My mom said the clubhouse used to be right there." "It did." He kicked at the gravel, thinking. "Mom said you were mean," he whispered. "But she also said maybe they weren't right. Adults mess things up, kid," I told him. "And kids are usually the first ones to notice." He looked out across the land. "What are you going to do with it now?" "I'm going to let it grow," I said. "Let it become what it was always meant to be." He put his helmet back on. "Looks better this way," he nodded. And as he pedaled away, I finally felt it, a deep, rooted peace. Not the fragile kind that breaks when the world knocks, but the kind you earn only after you stand your ground with the truth. So, here's my question for you. Now that 7 families are suing their developer and their HOA chairwoman is facing jail time, who holds the ultimate responsibility for the destruction of those homes? Was it the Century Dev? Elopers for the initial fraud? Was it Charlotte for the malicious pursuit? Or was it me, Silas Buchanan, for executing the law to the letter? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and tell me, what would you have planted on that reclaimed land? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories from Stone's Edge.